I came home early from my business trip only to find my husband down on one knee, proposing to my sister. He didn't even flinch when I saw them. She gasped, but he just kept smiling like I didn't exist. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I said nothing. I waited until their engagement livestream. Then I turned their perfect moment into a public collapse. And oh, how glorious their fall was. Chapter 1, the suitcase I shouldn't have unpacked when I boarded my early flight. Back from London, I had no idea I was heading straight into a betrayal that would shatter the very core of what I believed about love, loyalty, and family. My 3-day business trip had ended sooner than planned after I closed a lucrative marketing deal. All I could think about was surprising my husband Dylan with dinner and a quiet night in. I had no idea they were the ones planning a surprise. I got to our home just after PM, dragging my silver Samsonite up the driveway, smiling to myself as I pictured Dylan's reaction. We'd been married for 6 years, 6 years of shared dreams, long nights building his tech startup, and a quiet promise that someday we'd start a family. My little sister, Zoe, had been staying with us for 2 months while she figured things out after her breakup. I'd welcomed her with open arms. After all, she was my sister. What harm could a little sisterly bonding do? The house was oddly quiet as I stepped in. No music, no TV, just the sound of my heels tapping on the hardwood floor. I walked in expecting to see Dylan on the couch or Zoe in the kitchen, but they weren't there. Something in the air felt off, like the scent of lies had soaked into the walls. Then I heard it. Laughter, light, intimate, coming from the backyard. I dropped my coat on the armrest and stepped out onto the patio, and that's when I saw it. My husband, my Dylan, down on one knee, holding the same vintage rose gold ring we had picked out together when we got engaged. And across from him, gasping with a hand over her mouth, was Zoe, my sister, my own sister, Zoe Elise Martin, Dylan said, his voice trembling in a way I'd once found endearing. Will you marry me? Yes, she whispered, tears rolling down her cheeks. Yes, Dylan, 1,000 times yes. I didn't scream. I didn't storm down the steps and yank her away by the hair. I didn't even cry. I just watched. They hadn't noticed me. Not yet. I watched them hug. I watched them kiss, and then I took out my phone and took a picture, a perfect snapshot of betrayal. I quietly turned around, walked back inside, and shut the door, and that's when my entire body began to shake, not with heartbreak, but with calculation. That night, I checked into a hotel under my maiden name. I didn't tell anyone, not even my best friend MIA, where I was. I needed silence to plan, because this wasn't going to end with screaming. It was going to end with a broadcast. 3 days later, I watched as Zoe posted the engagement announcement. On Instagram, he was my sister's husband. Now he's my forever. Hashtag found love unexpectedly. Hashtag meant tobe. The comment section was full of hearts, fire emojis, and OMG goals. It made me sick. But one comment made me pause. It was from Dylan's mother. I'm so glad you both came clean. Better now than never. They came clean? I thought. So she knew? That's when I realized this wasn't just betrayal. This was a conspiracy. I reached out to MIA and told her everything. She screamed, cursed, and offered to drive her car through their living room. But I told her no. I had a better idea. They were planning an engagement livestream on Sunday. Zoe had teased it, going live at 7 PM to share our full love story, how he proposed, and our future plans. Can't wait to celebrate with everyone. Perfect, absolutely perfect, because I had a love story of my own to tell, and I'd tell it during their livestream, but first I had to collect the evidence. And luckily, Dylan had never changed the password on his cloud storage. Inside his Dropbox were hundreds of videos. Most were boring. Meetings, whiteboard sessions, even workout routines. But then I found the folder titled New Beginnings. Z&D. I clicked it open. There were dozens of videos, dates, cuddles, even one from my kitchen, recorded just a week before my trip. Zoe was wearing my robe. My mug was on the counter, and in one particularly smug clip, Dylan said, "She'll be gone for 3 days." Long enough for us to finally start our real life, babe. I nearly threw the laptop, but instead, I hit download, because every second of footage, every whispered promise, they would all become part of the reveal. I edited for 3 straight days. MIA helped me stitch the clips into a short, sharp 12-minute expose that would stream at the exact same time as their engagement live. But to pull it off, I needed access to Zoe's Instagram. Fortunately, she used the same password she always Had Zul of Starbucks 01, logged in, access granted. I scheduled the post, sync the stream, and set it to auto-publish at exactly 7:03 p.m., right after they started their love story. But that wasn't the only surprise. Oh no, I also sent anonymous invitations to Dylan's investors, board members, and his new PR agency under the subject, an unmissable love story you need to see 7 p.m. Sunday night. You see, Dylan's company had just started pitching to media outlets as the next great tech for good startup. Too bad their founder was about to go viral for all the wrong reasons. Sunday came fast. At 6:58 p.m, I was already online, watching from a fresh fake account. They looked perfect, matching white outfits, flower wall behind them, smiles like they had just solved world peace. Zoe was glowing, Dylan was smug. They greeted the stream like it was a red carpet, and then she said, "We'll be telling our story tonight, from betrayal to true love, how two broken hearts became one." They really leaned into the forbidden love thing. So I let them talk, and then at 7:03 p.m, right as Dylan said, "Sometimes the universe just makes things right," the screen froze, then glitched, then cut. To my video, and the world watched. When my cheating husband and my own sister went live to celebrate their engagement, they thought the world would cheer for their forbidden love, but just minutes into their livestream, the screen froze and I hijacked it. What the world saw next wasn't hearts or roses. It was the truth, raw, unfiltered, and completely devastating. Their smiles vanished, their perfect moment collapsed, and the fallout? That was just the beginning. Chapter 2, the video that broke the internet. Moment, the screen glitched, you could see the confusion flicker across Dylan's face. Zoe turned her head to the camera with a slight frown, but they were still smiling, still riding the high of admiration from their online followers. They had hundreds of live viewers, friends, family, clients, investors, people cheering for what they thought was a bold, romantic declaration of second chance love. Until the screen cut black for a full 3 seconds, silence. Then, my voice came on, not live, PRE recorded, calm, controlled, surgical. "Hi everyone," my voice said. "I know many of you came here tonight to celebrate an engagement. What you're about to see is not a love story, it's the anatomy of betrayal." The screen transitioned to the first video clip, Dylan and Zoe in our living room. She was wearing my robe, sipping from my mug, curled up against him like they'd been playing house. "I thought you said she might come home early," Zoe whispered. "She won't. She never does," Dylan said with a smirk, planting a kiss on her forehead. Gasps erupted in the chat. Messages started flying in. "Wait, what is this? Is this real? Oh my god, this can't be happening." The second clip played, Dylan pacing in his office. "I'm just tired of pretending," he ranted into his phone. "She's always so intense, obsessed with work. She barely even looks at me anymore. Zoe actually sees me." Then another video, a selfie clip Zoe recorded in our guest bedroom. "I didn't mean to fall in love with him," she said with fake tears in her voice. "But it just happened. And honestly, she doesn't deserve him." I had time-stamped each clip, labeled them, cross-referenced the dates. My voice came back on. "For those who don't recognize me, I'm Harper Jameson, Dylan's legal wife of 6 years, Zoe's older sister. And for those of you investing in Dylan's new APP, let's take a moment to talk about ethics." The next segment was brutal. I showed screenshots of texts from Dylan's phone, conversations between him and Zoe where they plotted how to announce their relationship, where they discussed manipulating family members into supporting them, where Dylan referred to me as a useful stepping stone. "Once I get the funding," he wrote to Zoe, "we'll push her out gently, make it look like she chose to walk away." "I feel sick," someone commented. "That poor woman. Zoe, you're disgusting. She's your sister." Their fairy tale was crumbling. And the best part, they were still on camera. The livestream had split. Half of the screen showed my expos, the other half still showed them, frozen, pale, shells-hocked. Zoe reached forward, trying to turn off the stream, but it was too late. The platform had been hijacked through a scheduled redirect using her own account, remember? MIA, my best friend and a software engineer, had made sure they wouldn't be able to shut it down until the video finished, which it did after exactly 12 minutes. The final screen was a photo of the three of us from a family holiday, me, Dylan, and Zoe at the lake. I had edited it. Zoe's smile was replaced with the word traitor. Dylan's face now said con. And mine? Just one word, free. The moment it ended, the internet went insane. People began screen recording, reposting, and flooding the chat. Some called it the most savage betrayal reveal in livestream history, others tagged gossip sites and tech blogs. By 7:30 p.m., Zoet Snake and Dumpdalen were both trending on X.by 8 o'clock p.m. Their engagement video had been removed, but the damage had already spread like wildfire. I didn't check into a hotel this time. I returned to the house at 10 p.m. calm, collected, and ready. I walked right through the front door. Zoe was there, sobbing on the couch, mascara streaked down her cheeks. Dylan was pacing, still in his stupid white linen shirt, barking into his phone, trying to get the video down from every repost page. He looked up when he saw me. "You hacked us?" he shouted. "No," I replied coolly. "You did this to yourselves." I just gave the world a front row seat. Zoe lunged toward me. "You ruined everything." I didn't flinch. "You slept with my husband. In my house. While living under my roof." I threw a manila envelope on the coffee table. "Those are annulment papers," I said. "Already signed by me." "And that second document? It's an eviction notice. Your things will be outside by morning." Dylan laughed bitterly. "You really think this is over?" "No," I said. "I know it's not over." I turned to walk out, but then I stopped at the doorway and said, "Check your email, Dylan. I've forwarded everything to your investors. They'll want answers before Monday." His face turned white. You see, I hadn't just burned their engagement. I had nuked Dylan's startup with the truth. Every investor now had video proof that the company founder was unethical, emotionally manipulative, and cheating on his spouse while still promising transparency and integrity to his clients. Some of those investors were family men, some of them had strict moral codes, others just didn't like liability. By Monday morning, 2 major investors had pulled out. By Wednesday, a PR agency released a statement distancing themselves from the controversy. And by Friday, Dylan's startup was trending under the hashtag Zoe tried to save face online. She posted a teary "I'm sorry you were hurt" video that just added fuel to the fire. Comments called her the blueprint for betrayal, a villain in yoga pants, and exhibitor in what not to do to your sister. By the end of the week, she deleted her accounts entirely, but I wasn't done, because Dylan had made a fatal mistake, one I was ready to exploit. You see, he had signed our prenup 6 years ago, a prenup that guaranteed I would receive 51% of any company he started during the marriage, unless infidelity was proven. And now, I had proof, which meant I owned more than half of his company, and I was about to take it all. My ex-husband thought he could humiliate me, steal my sister, steal my life, and build an empire on lies. But he forgot one detail. The prenup he signed 6 years ago gave me 51% of his company if infidelity was proven. And now, with betrayal, as public as a viral livestream, I wasn't just the ex-wife, I was the majority owner, and I was about to burn his empire from the boardroom. Chapter 3, the takeover clause in the fine print. It's funny how betrayal has a way of sharpening your memory. While Dylan was scrambling to salvage his reputation and Zoe was ghosting the internet, I was revisiting the very document that had brought us together in business and bound us in marriage, our prenup. Most people think prenups are just about protecting assets, but not ours. Back when Dylan was still just a scrappy tech geek with dreams bigger than his bank account, I was already making 6 figures as a marketing director. I was the one who helped him secure his first client's build, his pitch deck and land, his earliest investments. And when he asked me to marry him, I said yes, but with one condition, a clause that gave me 51% equity in any business venture he launched during our marriage unless the business out-earned me 3 years in a row or if I was proven unfaithful. He laughed when we signed it. "Why would I ever cheat on you?" he said, kissing the back of my hand. Now, that clause was the knife I would twist, and legally, no one could stop me. After the livestream fallout, Dylan went radio silent for 2 days, but I knew where to find him. He was holed up at his company's CO working loft in the heart of the city, trying to do damage control. The board had called an emergency meeting. Word had leaked. The video had spread. I walked into the glass-walled boardroom that Thursday morning wearing a black blazer, dark jeans, and heels sharp enough to slice his ego in two. The moment I stepped in, the room went dead silent. Dylan's CFO Reggie stood up in surprise. "Harper, what are you doing here?" I dropped the folder of legal documents onto the conference table. "I'm here as majority shareholder." Dylan stood up. "This is a private." "No, Dylan," I said coolly, "this is a shareholder meeting. And with 51% of this company, I belong at the head of this table." I slid the notarized documents across the table, evidence of the prenup, proof of the affair, and my lawyer's certified letter enforcing the transfer of shares. Reggie's eyes widened. This is binding? Fully, I replied. Unless Dylan would like to argue in court with the full Livestream as Exhibit A. He didn't speak. He couldn't, because legally, I now controlled his company. What happened next wasn't rage. It wasn't vengeance. It was strategy. I didn't storm in and fire everyone. I didn't tear it all down. I took over quietly. My first move? Freeze. All discretionary spending, including Zoe's consulting fee. Turns out, he'd been funneling her money under the radar as a creative advisor despite her having zero business experience and a bachelor's in candle making. Second move? Schedule a meeting with the firm's investors. I wanted them to hear from me, not from scandalized media clips. I prepared a pitch presentation titled, From Scandal to Stability, Rebuilding with Integrity. It was clean, direct, brutally honest. I opened with, Ladies and gentlemen, what you saw last week was not a reflection of this company. It was a reflection of a man. That man is no longer in charge. I promised transparency. I outlined a plan for real growth. I brought in a respected COO from my own network. I gave them a vision, and one by one, they leaned in. That night, Dylan showed up at my temporary condo. Are you proud of yourself? He sneered. You humiliated me in front of the entire industry. I looked him dead in the eye. No, you humiliated yourself. I just hit play. He stepped closer, tone low and venomous. This company was my dream, and you handed it to me on a platter. I said, voice cold as steel. You should read the fine print, Dylan. Or maybe you shouldn't have cheated on your business partner and wife with her sister. He stared at me, jaw tight. Then I dropped the final blow. Oh, and by the way, Zoe's pregnant test from 3 months ago, it was fake. She told MIA. Said it was the only way to keep you. He froze. I turned, opened the door, and said, good luck rebuilding your dream. From scratch, and just like that, I shut the door. In his face, on our past, on his lies, and on his future. But Zoe wasn't going to go quietly either. The next day, she posted a selfie, this time with a mystery man captioned, when one chapter ends, another begins. It was transparent, desperate. Worse, it worked temporarily. Some of her followers started spinning the narrative. Maybe Harper was controlling. Maybe Dylan and Zoe found real love. Everyone makes mistakes, right? So I did something unexpected. I went public. I scheduled an exclusive sit-down with one of the biggest female-forward business podcasts in the country. The episode was titled, Built His Brand, Then Took It Back. I told my story, calmly, powerfully, authentically, no tears, just truth. I talked about building a brand with a man I loved, only to discover betrayal from the two people closest to me. I described taking control not for revenge but to restore integrity. The host leaned forward and said, what would you say to women who think they're powerless after being cheated on? I smiled into the mic and said, read your contracts, know your worth, and when they hand you the knife, learn how to cut clean. That quote went viral, and suddenly, the narrative changed. I wasn't just a scorned wife, I became a symbol. Business blogs ran headlines like, woman uses prenup to reclaim cheating husband, startup sister steals husband, CEO takes everything back, queen of cold. Revenge, Harper Jameson's corporate comeback, speaking invites rolled in, sponsorships, and most importantly, control. For the first time in years, I wasn't chasing someone else's dream. I was building my own, and Dylan, he tried to sue me. He lost. That night, MIA and I celebrated with wine on my balcony. You know, she said, you could have screamed that day. You could have thrown things. Called the cops. I nodded. I could've, but I realized silence hurts more. She smiled. So what's next? I looked out over the skyline, heart finally steady. Now, I said, now I rebuild. But this time, for me. But just when I thought it was over, a letter arrived. No name, no return address. Just one sentence handwritten on thick cream paper. You got him. Now I want her. After I took over my cheating husband's company, humiliated him on his own engagement Livestream, and exposed my sister to the entire world, I thought it was over. I had won. But then a letter arrived, anonymous, threatening, and cryptic. You got him. Now I want her. That's when I realized I wasn't the only one Zoe had betrayed. And the person hunting her down? They wanted revenge of their own and they wanted me involved. Chapter 4, an unexpected ally with a hidden agenda letter sat on my marble counter for hours. Cream envelope, black ink, no return address. Just one sentence written in smooth, deliberate cursive, you got him. Now I want her. I didn't touch it for a long time. At first, I thought it was a joke, a sick one. Maybe Zoe playing mind games now that her reputation was in ashes. Or worse, Dylan trying to rattle me with anonymous threats. But deep down, something told me this wasn't from either of them. The tone wasn't desperate or cruel. It was strategic. Whoever wrote that wasn't just angry, they had a plan. That night, I had MIA come over again. She read the letter twice and sipped her wine slowly. Okay, that's creepy, but also weirdly elegant. I nodded. I don't know if it's a warning or an invitation. MIA raised an eyebrow. Invitation to what? I pulled out my phone and reread the message I got earlier that day. It was from an unlisted number, just coordinates and a time. 3:00 p.m. Warehouse District, Unit 14. Attached, a blurry photo of Zoe at a coffee shop, talking to a man I didn't recognize. Looks like someone's keeping tabs on her, I said. MIA leaned closer. You think this is connected to the letter? I said slowly, someone else wants Zoe to pay, and they think I'm the key to making that happen. I didn't want to go, but curiosity and instinct are dangerous allies. The next day, I pulled up to Unit 14. It was a private art studio in the back of a converted industrial warehouse, hip, quiet, and expensive. Inside, the walls were covered with canvases, but none of them were finished. Just bold brush strokes, color chaos. And one piece that stood out, a single painting. Zoe, tied in golden thread, eyes covered in silk. The title, Liars Don't Cry. They pose. Impressed, the voice came from behind me. A man stepped forward. Mid-30s, sharp suit, mismatched eyes, one blue, one green. Confident in a way that made their hair heavier. I'm sorry, who are you? I asked, already tense. He held up both hands. Let's say I'm someone who's also been betrayed by Zoe Elise Martin. That caught my attention. Go on, I said carefully. He stepped beside the painting, tilted his head. She dated me. Before Dylan. Before the broken fianc. Before she was your poor little sister in need of a place to stay. He turned to me, eyes burning. She stole $200,000 from my company, hacked my client list, and disappeared. Left me a note that said, thanks for the mentorship. I'll be sure to mention you when I win my first award. My stomach twisted. Why haven't I heard about this? I asked. He chuckled. Because I buried it, like an idiot. I didn't want the media to see I'd been conned by a 20-something with a fake sum and a fake identity. But when I saw your video, when I saw her face on that livestream, I realized she's made this a habit, a game. I narrowed my eyes. What do you want from me? He smiled slowly. Just your cooperation. He handed me a flash drive. Everything she's ever done. Fake internships, sugar daddies, hacked design portfolios. She even faked a college degree. I stared at it. Why now? Because you already destroyed Dylan, he said. Now it's Zoe's turn. But not with rage, not with fire, with facts, with finesse. The way you handled him. He leaned in. I want the world to know exactly who Zoe Martin is. Every dirty con, every lie. I've already compiled the receipts. I just need someone with credibility to tell the story. Someone the internet already trusts. My blood ran cold. You want me to go public again? He nodded. They believe you. They don't know me. You're a symbol now of justice, revenge, survival. Help me expose her. For every investor, employer, and friend she's fooled, I walked toward the door. What's in this for you? He didn't hesitate. Peace. I paused at the threshold. And what happens after she's exposed? He stared at the painting. Nothing she hasn't earned. I left without making a promise, but that night I watched the videos on the flash drive and they made my skin crawl. Zoe charming a wealthy older man, calling him daddy, then stealing his password while he slept. Zoe in a fake interview with a famous design firm, clearly reading answers off her phone while pretending it was memorized. Zoe laughing in a car selfie, new job. Same lies. They never check references. It was like watching a stranger wear my sister's face, and suddenly I realized she didn't just betray me, she was betrayal. I decided to act, but on my terms. No livestream this time. No explosive social video. This would be a profile piece. I called a friend at a major women's magazine. Told her I had a story, We met over lunch.by the end of our meeting. She was gripping her pen like a weapon. This could go viral, she whispered, not just for the betrayal angle, but because it's patterned abuse. She didn't just cheat. She manipulated, conned, deceived multiple people across years. This is real journalism. I smiled. Just wait till you see the files. The article dropped 3 weeks later, front page digital release. The sister, the thief, the chameleon, inside Zoe Martin's trail of lies. It was devastating. It detailed every false entry, every romantic con, every employer she scammed. It linked to public records, screenshots, email chains, and of course it referenced the now infamous engagement livestream. Zoe's face was everywhere again, only this time, she wasn't a misunderstood romantic. She was a career manipulator. The backlash was nuclear. Zoe's old high school classmates began posting stories. She once lied about having cancer to get out of an exam. She told my boyfriend I cheated on him, then dated him 2 weeks later. She pretended to be British for an entire semester. Her name became a cultural punchline. TikToks exploded. Reaction channels ripped her apart. One influencer started a hashtag Zoe Challenge where people reenacted her scams in satirical sketches. It was brutal, but it was honest, and that's when I got the second letter. Same cream paper, same cursive. This time it read, one down, one left. Enclosed was a Polaroid. Dylan. A bar with someone new. I exposed my husband's betrayal. I took back his company. I revealed my sister's web of lies to the entire world. I thought it was over until another letter arrived. Another warning. Another target. This wasn't just revenge anymore. This was chess. And the final move was mine. Chapter 5, the final move when the game is over and you're still standing. The Polaroid sat on my desk, unnerving and familiar all at once. Dylan slumped on a bar stool, drink in hand, arm wrapped around a new woman. The second letter had come with it, handwritten just like the first, one down, one left. The message wasn't threatening. It wasn't even angry. It was surgical. It was deliberate. Whoever had been tracking Zoe was now watching Dylan again, but I didn't care about Dylan's love life anymore. He was a ghost in my past, a man walking through the ashes of his own ruin. What struck me wasn't the photo itself. It was the realization that someone, somewhere, was still playing this game. And if I didn't end it, someone else would, and that someone might not be so careful. I called MIA. I'm not being paranoid, I told her. Someone is circling Dylan now, and I don't want his mess dragging me back into headlines. She blinked. Why do you care? You buried him. I buried what he did to me. But if this spirals further, people will connect it back to my name, my company, my story. I don't want to be the face of petty warfare. I want to be the face of power, growth, and survival. MIA nodded slowly. So, what are you going to do? I looked at the photo again, then at the glowing lights of the city beyond my window. I'm going to end it, I said. But this time, not with exposure, not with press. I'm going to end it in person. 3 nights later, I walked into that same bar from the Polaroid. It was downtown. Stylish. The kind of place Dylan used to scoff at for being too seen. Now, he was part of the scene, drinking quietly with his flavor of the weak blonde companion. He didn't see me approach at first, but when he did, his entire face shifted. What do you want? He asked, stiffening in his seat. The girl next to him blinked. Wait, is this your ex-wife? The Livestream woman? I gave her a kind smile. The very one. She stood awkwardly, gathering her purse. I'll let you two talk. Dylan sighed, rubbing his temples. Harper, please, if this is about the company. I sat down across from him, calm, poised. It's not. I'm not here to fight you or threaten you. He gave a bitter laugh. Then why are you here? Because someone's watching you, I said simply. He blinked. What? I slid the Polaroid across the table. This arrived at my home, along with a message, one down, one left. He stared at the photo for a long time, then he looked up at me, genuinely unnerved. You think, Zoe? I shook my head. No, this isn't her style. This is someone we both missed. Someone she burned before me. Before you. Someone who wants to burn you next. His voice dropped. Who? I don't know. But I do know this, whoever they are, they've already played 2 moves. Zoe. Then you. And I don't want to be dragged into a third. He looked away. For once, Dylan Jameson looked scared. I leaned in. You ruined your life when you cheated. You lost your company, your wife, your future. But if you don't disappear completely, you're going to lose more. And I'm not going to save you." He swallowed hard. "Are you threatening me?" I smiled coldly. "No, I'm giving you a way out. Take it." 2 days later, Dylan announced on his social media that he was moving abroad to restart and rebrand. He sold his remaining shares to a silent investor. He vanished. No press, no drama, just silence, but the whispers didn't stop. Zoe, she tried to pivot into real estate. The expos haunted her. No agency would hire her. Even the shady ones said, no. Last I heard, she was working in a boutique candle shop she once mocked. They didn't fall loudly, they fell quietly, perfectly, exactly how I wanted. Months passed, my new company flourished. I rebranded the startup I inherited, transformed its culture, and attracted investors who wanted to be part of something clean, powerful, and led by a woman who didn't flinch in the face of betrayal. I hired smart women, paid them well, trained them, promoted them. People stopped asking me about Dylan, about Zoe. They started asking me to speak about leadership, about resilience, about dignity under fire, and every time I stepped on stage, I began my talk the same way. I used to think heartbreak was the end. Turns out it's just a detour on your way to absolute power. And then, just as life felt still again, a final envelope arrived, cream paper.no return address, inside one card.no photo this time, just a line, game over. You played it better than any of us, and underneath that, a signature, just a single letter. I never found out who I was, not fully, but I have my theories, and honestly, it doesn't matter, because they gave me something I didn't even know I needed. Not just closure, not just justice, but the truth that no matter how deep the betrayal, I will always rise higher. Endingly tried to break me, my husband, my sister, even the shadows behind the curtain. But I never screamed, I never begged. I used silence as my sword, truth as my shield. And when it was over, I didn't just win, I ruled. So tell me, if you were me, would you have done the same? Or would you have let them walk away untouched? Let me know in the comments.